Star Wars: A New Hope is about a farm boy forced to team up with a ragtag group to rescue a beautiful princess and restore freedom and justice to the galaxy. The Acolyte is about communist space lesbians, and at just 19% on the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, has fallen to lower depths than the cocaine-fueled train wreck of the Star Wars Holiday Special. This is Disney's Star Wars, and it is hard to imagine what Walt Disney himself might have thought of such content being produced by his company.
Good evening, friends. It is my fond hope that you and your family will gather together to enjoy Star Wars: The Acolyte. I'm especially fond of this charming outer space adventure, a very special kind of show, and one of which we're very proud. And incidentally, have a handkerchief ready. And is centered around a group of intergalactic communist lesbian witches. Now, these Space Scissor Sisters have used a magical power called the Force to create life, enabling one of them to give birth to twins, a process that enables these Milky Way muff divers to live in peace without the need for any penises. In celebration of their testosterone-free, non-sperm lifestyle, the whole sapphic crew of carpet munchers will perform an exciting musical number chanting, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. That this lesbian empowerment sing-along is by far the most charming and lovable ditty I've ever heard, and it will be sure to have you smiling and your toes tapping.
Watching this episode, whatever life-giving properties were bestowed upon the lesbian witch coven to create babies were evidently sucked out of the depths of my own life force, in a form of televisual vampirism. Its lesbian witch dancing scene is probably the worst Disney Star Wars moment ever, second only to the cameo by Lizzo in The Mandalorian, the only canonical humanoid character fatter than this Chungus body positivity Jedi. The coven of witches do a tribal sing-along, gazing rapturously at the moon, caterwauling and ululating, and reciting their sapphic mantra, with choreography and acting so feeble and overwrought it makes your face almost implode from cringing. The Acolyte is a creative cesspool of identity politics-ridden Z-grade fanfic dogshit. Not only that, there was a pathetic effort to talk up the viewing figures for the first couple of episodes, based entirely on spurious bullshit, which basically amounted to releasing a number into a supportive media that, to low-information readers, would sound impressive. 4.8 million as it happens, and relying on entertainment journalists ranging from sycophantic to lazily conventional to instill a narrative that this was somehow a breakthrough figure, with rollicking momentum and a big swatting aside of curmudgeonly stick-in-the-mud reactionary white dudes, mouth-breathers, neckbeards, incels, dude bros, and casual bigots who couldn't handle the fierce, stunning, and brave embracing of new voices and a new galaxy of stories and representation. This turned out to be so much horseshit, it were if Black Beauty had sustained food poisoning and lifted its tail to spray diuretic horseshit over a parade of squealing pony club girls with riding crops and jodhpurs with equestrian helmets. It turned out the 5-day ratings for the show, touted in some outlets as likely to breeze past previous Disney Star Wars show Ahsoka, in fact faded drastically and ended with 11.1 million views, 3 million short of Ahsoka over the same time period. And this is in the context of Ahsoka having fallen well lower in the ratings than previous shows, The Mandalorian and Kenobi. Taken in this context, Disney Star Wars is in a terrible downward spiral. But by then, the news cycle had moved on, Disney Star Wars fans and defenders had tweeted out their 4.8 million figure, left some supercilious comment, then drifted elsewhere. The entire episode is set 16 years before the principal action of the first 2 episodes inflicted upon the viewer who did nothing to deserve such treatment. We have the acting of 2 girls playing sisters Osha and May, who not only can't act, but have all the most annoying, tedious, and patience-trying aspects of being young girls, not only emphasized, but maximized. Little tantrums, mood swings, incessant bickering, repetitive complaints, nagging grievances, low attention spans, and pre-teenage angst. You can have excellent child actors. Even among the Star Wars alumni, you have the girl from Logan and Natalie Portman in The Professional. But these 2 kids' performances, hampered by a terrible script, poor pacing, poor lighting, and poor direction, just seem like a couple of kids conspicuously, and often gratingly, acting. Their first mother, the one who bore them after the Force put a bun in her oven, or the midichlorians got her up the duff, or whatever happened in Leslye Headland's feeble fantasy, is a stern mama who defers to Mama 2, the Scissor Sisters' sharpest blade. The girls are about to formally enter the Order, after developing their Force skills, which is called the Thread, or something. Anywho, the Coven of Witches do a tribal sing-along, then the Jedi, who have been prowling around, arrive at the Ascension ceremony, and there is a dramatic tussle over Osha, who the Jedi want to whisk away to train as part of the Jedi Order. Naturally, the only white male present, a curly-haired, mopey, non-masculine ladyboy, is shunted into a trance as a demonstration of the witch's power. Here, the Jedi are depicted as dubious, even arrogant, as if entitled to claim any youngsters they see fit, whether the parents like it or not. And this, despite having some precedent in the fussy, finicky lore most people don't care about, nonetheless, in no particular order, grinds my gears, boils my piss, gets my goat, and spins my melon. Because it is just the latest in a never-ending, ruthless deconstruction of every good traditional thing in Star Wars, from the breaking down of Luke Skywalker to a bitter, isolated old man, to Han Solo reduced to pathetic shenanigans and failed intimacy, to subverted masculine heroism, to Mary Sue characters retroactively diminishing the achievements of male heroes. Now the Jedi, framed in a simple, pleasant way as the good guys, opposite the evil baddies, are now dragged into being maligned, with the prequel trilogy seeming to serve as a kind of permission structure for weak, stick-up-their-ass modern writers to cast them as entitled, as out of touch, or, to use one of modern progressives' favorite terms, hegemonic. Everything is subverted to pussyish, flaky, modern interests. The focus shifted from hetero to homo, masculine to feminine, moral absolutes to moral relativism, body discipline to body positivity, innovation to derivation, and diversity to performative diversity. And all this while divesting Star Wars of everything cool about Star Wars. What a shit show. Devotees of modern, message-driven Star Wars are a very feeble and flaky breed, aloofly disparaging in a prissy, snide way, but with a kind of neediness lurking beneath, a stroppy approach to defending lore, or stupid plot holes, or scientific and technological absurdities and cringeworthy identity politics, without ever properly allowing themselves to assess the content in a neutral way. To concede that critics are laughing and shaking their heads at the shit writing, the shit dialogue, the shit characters, the shit rhythm and tone, and actors, and general holistic shittiness, first and foremost, and the identity politics indulgences second, and who will defend anything by rote, like political surrogates sent out to do spin and PR on behalf of a government that is collapsing amid scandals and incompetence. Faced with criticism of Leslye Headland's framing of the Jedi as negative and duplicitous, some tether to reason snaps in their head. The Jedi are a fundamentalist order, they suck by default. Lucas literally lays it all out in the prequels right before Anakin starts his massacre. Luke even admits he doesn't understand their ways after he tries restoring the order. They suck. If you laugh at the idea of a campfire swirling in space, they will smother their sense and reason and type out slightly manic, insufferably know-it-all screeds. Listen, buddy, this isn't Star Trek, lol. This is Star Wars. You're in the wrong fandom if science has to make sense 100% to our real-world life, lol. If you announce that you're going to showcase diversity as a principal aim, and you wish to see a classic property through the lens of queerness or gender or race, that's your prerogative. And if your show crashes or is met with indifference because identity and representation has been disproportionately forefronted over originality or merit in the fiercely contested marketplace of entertainment, then that is not the audience's fault. If they choose not to watch, that's their prerogative. And these Star Wars defenders have gotten a new idea in their head, claiming review bombing without any evidence, and making a blurry kind of mashup whereby thousands of people posting their legitimate negative reviews is, in a general, vague kind of way, tantamount to review bombing. Just because being so cumulatively an avalanche of negativity, it could only be driven by mean-spiritedness rather than actual critical frustration. No, that's not review bombing. That's reviewing something that is bombing. And at this point, we're not attacking Star Wars out of hate, we're attacking it for sport. Anyway, the plot momentum of the episode gets stuck in a ditch when the twin girls are assessed by the Jedi, with Osha dilly-dallying over whether she wants to honestly try, and then her sister, in one of the most abrupt jolts of character change in the medium of television, aggressively announces she would rather her sister died than leave with the Jedi. May sets fire to her sister's notebook, the contents of which are immaterial to the plot, and the conflagration that ensues throughout the stone fortress the witches occupy promptly burns in the space of a few minutes. The lesbian witches have died en masse, either through some kind of Chernobyl effect from a main reactor or the Jedi turning into homicidal maniacs. Osha escapes, and that's about the extent of the episode. And that's about it for me in terms of reviewing and analyzing Star Wars. I'll engage with Andor, because that, at least, is sort of grown up enough to be interesting. But aside from that, I'm done. I'm out. I've done my shift with this Disney garbage and its relentless mediocrity, because I don't really think of this as Star Wars anymore. It's zombified, identity-ridden trash. Sooner or later, money has to talk. Sooner or later, Kathleen Kennedy has to go. Sooner or later, Bob Iger has to get the message. But by then, it will be too late, and it won't even matter.